Israel is all set to hold its fifth election in less than 4 years on Tuesday. The voters are hoping to break the deadlock that's existed between former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the current incumbent Yair Lapid. Israel has seen 4 inconclusive elections since 2019 that delivered 2 short-lived coalition governments and just 1 state budget. The first November ballot will see the veteran Netanyahu leading a bloc of right-wing and ultra-religious parties against the centrist Prime Minister Yair Lapid, leading a far more fragmented camp. Recent polls show Netanyahu's Likud party is likely to be the single largest in parliament, but his camp, comprising 3 more factions, is likely to fall short of a commanding majority. Lapid's camp, on the other hand, is set for an even weaker outcome. So far, most of the polls have shown neither camp winning an outright majority in Israel's 120-seat legislature. Analysts say an inconclusive outcome could leave Israel with more political uncertainty, while economic and security troubles mount. A deadlocked election could mean Israel would go to polls yet again within just months, with Prime Minister Yair Lapid remaining in office as caretaker. While speaking to WION, Israel's envoy to India, Yair Gilon, said the election and induction of the new leader can take 6 to 7 weeks.
The wish for a visit, I think the need for a visit, even stronger, is there. It's not gone, but first of all, we have to have a government. This is a process that might take in Israel between 6 and 7 weeks. Usually, if they use the maximum time given by law, there are different terms of time that can be given for the process. Once we have a government and we have a prime minister, hopefully it will happen and we have stability and not re-election. We will put very high on the agenda the need to visit India. Of course, India for us is a major partner, a very close friend and ally.
All right, for more on that, let's now go across to my colleague Jodie Cohen, who's tracking the story very closely for us. Jodie, you heard even the Israeli envoy to India there saying, we hope we have stability and not another election. Now, political instability is the last thing that Israel needs at a time of economic turmoil that the entire world is going through. But going by the polls, it looks very unlikely at the moment that any of these leaders of their parties could actually cobble together a majority. At the moment, what is it looking like? Is Netanyahu set to make a comeback, which would then make it his 3rd term in office?
So the last election was significant in that it led to the first government in 12 years not headed by Netanyahu. But I think it's important to remember that he still won more votes than any other party, even though he wasn't able to form the coalition. And the same thing could happen in tomorrow's election. Likud is expected to be able to pull together a coalition of 60 seats, which is 1 short of the majority needed. And I see 2 possible scenarios for a potential Netanyahu comeback. The first one is that Likud's campaign strategy throughout this election has been 1 + 1 = 4, meaning that if every Likud voter brings 1 voter who stayed at home last time and supports Likud out to the polls tomorrow, that would lead to 4 years in office. Now, but something as simple as the weather could actually impact that. The election day is a national holiday here. Many families go away for the day. They may or may not have time to vote when they come back from their day trip. So if the weather's bad, they're less likely to go away for the day. Maybe they're more likely to vote. However, a thunderstorm is actually predicted, and if it's really bad, that might also put people off voting, which really could impact Likud's strategy there. Another option is that Likud are able to pull together a coalition of 60 seats, and that potentially they might be able to persuade Defence Minister Gantz to join them in a coalition government. Now, I only see that happening under 2 conditions. Number 1, that Gantz would become Prime Minister first in any rotation before Netanyahu. And number 2, that by joining the coalition, that he would be able to say that he has somehow minimized the role, perhaps potentially the role in cabinet of the Zionist religious party, which is seen as ultra-nationalist and far-right by some. If he's able to say that by joining the coalition with Netanyahu, he was able to minimize their influence, then that potentially could be an outcome as well. However, of course, there are scenarios for Prime Minister Lapid as well.
Let's in fact talk about that. What are the odds for the current incumbent? Do you think he fancies his chances of being able to form a coalition government? Though, again, going by the numbers that we have before us, it looks like he certainly is at a distinct disadvantage at this point in time as he is locked in this contest with Netanyahu.
So it certainly won't be easy. I see three potential scenarios for Lapid. Number one is polls predicting he would be able to pull together a coalition of 56. If Hadash-Tal get 4 seats, that still leaves them at 60. But there's the potential that maybe they'll be able to get more voters out from the Arab-Israeli community, which is known for a lower voter turnout. It's going to be a difficult job. Also, if the ZRP are considered ultra-nationalist by many, then Hadash-Tal are considered by many to be ultra-un-nationalist. So Lapid himself has said that he won't actually sit in a government with Hadash-Tal, but potentially, maybe he'll form a coalition with support from them from the outside. There's another option that, he gets a coalition together of 56 and perhaps manages to convince some disillusioned Likud or United Torah Judaism Party voters to join him if they're disillusioned by the fact that Netanyahu wouldn't be, in this scenario, be able to form a coalition again. I think the most likely scenario, though, is actually none of the above. I think we are looking at continued deadlock, although, of course, you have to say that the polls get things wrong and nobody can predict anything in Israeli politics. If Lapid continues as interim prime minister in the event of another election being called, then I know that Yesh Atid's strategy is that they're actually hoping that Likud will change leader if Netanyahu, even though he's the most trusted leader, if he's not able to form a coalition government. We'll know more. The election's tomorrow. We'll know in the next couple of days the actual results of the election. They're saying it could take weeks for the actual coalition outcome to be known, but most likely within the next week or so we'll have a better idea.
All right, we will probably know in a week or so who is going to form the next government in Israel. A lot of interesting scenarios and permutations and combinations that you've listed for our viewers there, Jodie. Of course, the people of Israel would desperately be hoping for a stable government this time around, but is one really in the pipeline? That remains a $1 million question. Thanks very much, Jodie Cohen, for getting us all those details.
Thank you.